What do I do? And you configure what you do. Oh, I got a response. What do I do? You configure what to do. If you want to forward, look up in a location table. If you want to authenticate, if you want to check headers, you build your own SIP application. It's very hard if you don't know SIP. It's not like Asterisk at all. So, one example. A proxy SIP call goes through the proxy. The phone rings, we answer. We have one SIP session. In Asterisk, we place a call to Asterisk. Asterisk opens up a new call because Asterisk is a phone. It's a back-to-back UA. So suddenly we have two SIP dialogues, two phones. That's kind of interesting. So with a SIP proxy, you're in a new world, but a world that scales heavily. So assuming that all of you, some of you know about this stuff, right? But assuming that you haven't seen this before, let's take it step by step and discuss pros and cons of adding a SIP proxy to your Asterisk, right? Are you with me? Cool. So let's play together. We have an Asterisk and a proxy. Do remember now that Asterisk is all about the phone call. We're call stateful, right? The proxy, it's a piece of software. You can add call statefulness. You can add dialog states and all kinds of stuff to it to make it a SIP application server if you want, a back-to-back UA if you want. But the core functionality in a proxy is to make sure that any SIP request it gets actually gets a response. If we're not getting a response from the far end, the proxy will produce a response. To make sure that the phone actually gets a response. So the SIP proxy only cares about transactions. And that's very, very different. And you have to keep coming back to this and say, okay, if the call was placed through the SIP proxy and the proxy died, who cares as long as we have another one? And the call won't fail just because the proxy dies. Who cares? It's just a proxy. Now, when I started working with Asterisk, this was the view of SIP in the Asterisk source code. Oh, the center of the world is Asterisk, and we have a couple of phones on the local LAN, and we have something else going out. And sadly enough, with many recent patches in the 1.6.1.8 branch, it's still the view of the world. I don't like that, because my view of the world really follows kind of the IETF grand scheme for TCP/IP networking, stupid core, intelligent endpoints. We need to interact with the stupid core, with a SIP network in the enterprise that handles many different applications, or using SIP across the internet. And that puts whole new set of requirements on Asterisk, and it's been the base of 80% of my work with Asterisk for many years to make this work. Because we failed miserably when I started, and I kept sending angry mails to the Asterisk mailing list, and I got a response, fix it, you have the source code. And yeah, you know what happened. I got stuck in the source code for years. So, I have limited amount of time. I can't give you the full class, but I'll give you a very, very, very brief introduction to Camelio. This is Camelio, done. Well, let's spend a few slides. A SIP proxy forwards messages. We have an incoming message, we need to find out where to send it. Policy in a SIP proxy, like a router, can say, nope, I'm not forwarding this message, not allowed. We can also have a situation where the SIP proxy says, you know what? I need to send this message to that phone, and that phone. So I need to copy the message and make 3 outbound requests, and then I need to make sure that the people calling only get 1 response. And that's called forking. And we use a location table where all the registrations come in, so we know where different accounts actually are on the internet today. And we can do many other things. It's, as I said, it's just a piece of software. Camelio is an open source SIP server. It's a proxy, but there's also many other things. You can configure it as an application server with an application API from Spain. It's a registrar, location server, presence server, Jabber gateway. We have many modules. I think we have over 100 additional modules you can play around with. Camelio has a long history. There was a project called the SIP Express Router that was the first open source SIP proxy coming out in the early 2000s. It was really cool. I remember installing it. I installed it before I had Asterisk. I said, yeah, I have SIP in my office. Cool. I register a phone, I register another phone, I place a call, and okay. That's it. Oh, no. Okay. Then I installed Asterisk. I could call in and hear Allison. I can connect to my ISDN network and call in from my cell phone. A lot of things started happening. But I started with a proxy called SEER. Later on, the SEER project forked. The company behind SEER got sold to Tekelec, and a new project was born called OpenSEER. And a few years later, OpenSEER forked. So now and they had to change name before the fork. So OpenSEER became Camelio, and Camelio forked into OpenSIPs and Camelio. You know, programmers like me were divas. Can you fix my shoes later on? Thanks. It's hard to work together because everyone has strong ideas. We need to do this, we need to do this. So we keep forking. But the really cool thing that happened here is that Camelio merged with the old SEER team. And while in Tekelec, they had improved stability, security, performance, they've done incredible things with the core server. So the two teams of divas decided to unite. And within 6 months, they combined the source code of both projects. That's amazing. Very strong will from some people and a lot of willingness to compromise and make sure the team works forward. So we have a very strong development team with the Tekelec guys and all the open source guys working together. So let's move on then and say, okay, I have my Asterisk. What can we do? Well, if you do SIP properly, your phones are not configured with IP addresses. Configuring phones with IP addresses is bad. And please don't tell me or Simon here about it. You configure phones with domains. That way you have a DNS server, or 2 or 3, where you actually control where to send the SIP messages. So now you're adding a proxy in between, and you move the domain in DNS to point to Camelio. No need to reconfigure the phones. And you tell Camelio to, anything you get, forward that to Asterisk. Right? So you're implementing a man in the middle. Okay? So what can we do with this? Well, from Asterisk's point of view, Asterisk will no longer see the IP addresses of the phones, because all messages are sent from Camelio. So matching on IP won't work. Matching on username, like we do with user account, still works. And Asterisk has to be configured to use Camelio as the outbound proxy for sending out all SIP messages. Otherwise, Asterisk would try to talk directly with the phones, which is bad. And a possible next step is to add another Asterisk and configure Camelio with failovers to say, if this Asterisk doesn't respond, immediately call the other one. Or if you're just delivering PSTN gateway services, you can load balance, make sure that both Asterisk works all the time, and you can do a lot of cool things here. So, bang. You're on your way to scalability and security. Stage 2 is more of a power struggle. Now, in stage 1, Asterisk still had the account database, right? In stage 2, we're moving that to Camelio, because we want to authenticate in Camelio and open up for the possibility of using Camelio for presence, routing video calls without touching Asterisk, doing a lot of new cool stuff in that SIP real-time platform, the cool things that you vaguely remember is crazy Swede talking about at AstriCon, right? So let Camelio handle the registrations, and Asterisk will now become the gateway and media server. So let's see what happens in Asterisk. Peers users won't work anymore. We have to start using databases and say, okay, Camelio authenticated, had an account, and I'll use that account. But we can't rely on the SIP channel sorting out account codes and CDRs and such for you. All phones will end up with the same codec settings, which might be acceptable or not acceptable. But since we only match Camelio from Asterisk, we can't have different codec settings per phone. Using SIP is pretty cool because it's all text-based. And the point of that is we can add a lot of information. So in Camelio, we can look up databases and say, okay, this is the account code, this is the username, this is this, and send it all in SIP headers to Asterisk. In the Asterisk dial plan, you pick it up, you make sure you put it into the CDR, and you have proper billing. So that's way cool. So now you changed. You move power from Asterisk over to Camelio, but keeping CDRs, keeping all the services in Asterisk, but Asterisk is now a totally different creature, a new configuration. So now you probably need 2 Camelios at least to make sure you always have one up and running. And you can add as many Asterisk as you want. 2 Camelios will handle millions and millions of users on a standard server because it's only signaling. It's media that kills a server. Signaling, we can handle. So what happened now then? Well, Asterisk no longer has any blinking lamps. And I'm so tired of all these blinking lamps, all the patches and all the support. So get rid of that stuff. Right. You don't need it. Queues will not work since we have no state. Who wants those boring call queues listening to that Allison? Nah, get rid of it. And you can't have different codec settings. No, just give them some lousy ILBC because you don't want them to call you anyway. So let's leave it there and look at the various things. You might want to have a full PBX service with the blinking lamps and the call queues and everything. And you can use Camelio as a load balancer in front. Or you can try to make it work, or you can look at my patches that comes later. Now we have something called real time in Asterisk.